Hello, lovies. Oh, I am Psyche. I feel right now in my life, I am modern day Psyche. I am living her mythology, and I am undergoing one of the most intensive transformation periods of my life. And these past 3 months have been so transformative into who I am as an individual. And I want to talk about that. I really want to talk about it without delving into all the nitty gritty, whatever. Oh my gosh, I need more support in my back because I don't even know where to begin. Let me begin by saying this period of transformation has been exhausting. I am physically exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm spiritually and emotionally doing everything to remain grounded and an internal place of peace, or just have peace and allow that to slowly mirror in my external world. But alas, transformation is never easy nor pain-free. It's deeply painful in comparison to change. However, I say all that, and at the same time, I have such immense gratitude for how much I'm transforming who I am today, how much hard work I've put into healing myself and becoming the version I've always dreamt and sought to be, because it's been a 5-year journey that I feel has really amped up the past year and then just intensified these past 3 months, this past month, this past week. But I want to hold gratitude because the individual I sit before you all today as is not who I was a week ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. It's an individual. I am an individual now that little me dreamt of being, and teenage me would have an aneurysm over, but also so much gratitude and excitement for. And everyone from my past that I have had to walk away from or let go and release would choke if they met. And I think that just makes me even more proud of how deeply I've transformed and how much I've grown, because all in all, every bit of my journey, everyone I've had to step away from, every situation I've had to endure and make peace with or step away from, has just led me to this moment and led me to who I am today. And I just hold so much gratitude for that. I hold so much gratitude because for so long of my life, for such a majority, I felt like change was never happening. I would never be who I am today. I would never be pursuing what I love. I would just be stuck in these negative karmic cycles and stuck as the miserable individual I found myself identifying as 5 years ago, if it were not for me having the desire to save myself awoken in me. Because I really do credit a lot of my healing journey to being inspired by a certain individual walking into my life. Hi, Koa. If Koa had not been my answered prayer and walked into my life, and just by being an embodiment of light, an individual of just pure light, pure joy, pure peace, then I would not be who I am today. I would have never pursued modeling and then found modeling leading me back to acting, and now pursuing acting as my career. I I would never seek to be the version of myself that just doesn't partake in drinking or substances. And if you told that to 19-year-old me, she'd have a stroke, she'd laugh at you, she'd spit on you. She was not a very nice person, nor was 20-year-old me. But if you told little 5-year-old, 7-year-old, 10-year-old me that, she'd be so happy, because I've never been an individual that's found alcohol or substances appealing, in all honesty, and my truth. My soul just doesn't like to be out of control. I don't like not being present or in control or just in alignment with my soul. And for so long, I was numbing my soul because I didn't want to face my traumas. I didn't want to face the deep internal healing I needed to do. But if it were not for Koa entering my life and showing me, hey, it's possible to be who you want to be. It's possible to do the deep transformation work and heal and change the cycle, I would not be where I am today. And I also wouldn't be where I am today if I had not endured certain hardships and had to engage with certain people and just live a certain way and be a certain person. Like, everything I have experienced has led me to this moment. And for that, I hold deep gratitude. I hold such deep, deep gratitude. But as much as I accredit Koa and I hold gratitude for what certain individuals taught me and the different periods of my life they were present, it really took me finally making peace with, I had to save myself in the end, and that I need to hold pride in, because no one really, Koa, he did save me, but he didn't save me. It took me making the changes and making peace with, I am going to do this journey no matter how painful it is, because it is painful to continually be undergoing transformation and internally healing traumas that you've neglected for so long and I buried and I tried to erase from my brain. But oh my gosh, am I so grateful, and am I finally feeling to be in a place of like pure power. Like, I feel empowered by the boundaries I set, the decisions I've made, and the deep healing work I am doing, because it is ultimately making me the best version of myself, and the version of myself I have always dreamt of. I have always dreamt of, and I've always known I am. I just, for a period, really tried to suppress or change to appeal to society and others and escape and neglect, ignore, whatever, facing certain things, certain aspects. So I want to hold gratitude. I want to hold gratitude, but I do want to acknowledge the journey of transformation is so painful. It is so painful. It is so exhausting. And it really is a journey in which you have to continually choose hope and find the middle path. And that's been hard, because while you need to experience extreme optimism and extreme nihilism or cynicism, living in those extremes is never good. So I never want to come on here and be the cynic or appear to be the pure optimist. I do view myself as an eternal optimist because I continue to carry hope for not only the betterment of myself and the betterment of the world, but just the betterment of each and every day, and there being so much potential and possibility in every moment in the future, and that's just so exciting. But I do walk the middle path. I am a realist. I try to understand the present moment for what it is, and then view in what way I need to adopt some optimism or adopt some cynicism. And finding that middle path is foreign to so many people. Because a lot of people hate wisdom, they hate healing, and they hate truth. And in truth, there's accountability. In truth, there lies the middle path. And we live in such a world and society where so many are expected to just relinquish their privacy and relinquish their humanity to fall into what is societally accepted. And I guess what I mean by that is I have really come to peace and practiced this and have had to make adjustments of I don't share my traumas willy-nilly. I'm never going to be an individual that comes on here and says, hey, these are all the ways I was abused. No, that's not me. I don't view there being any great worth in trauma dumping. Nor do I find any friendship or relationship that's built on trauma bonding successful, because the second one individual begins healing and doing the deep inner work and moving away from the victim mindset or being the saboteur to their own life or viewing themselves as the martyr or the prostitute archetype, and by prostitute I mean I will sacrifice this in order to gain this. The more people step away from those, the more those you've trauma bonded with that don't want to get mad, and they try and punish you or guilt trip you or manipulate you into believing, wait, no, I still care, I'm still your supporter, I'm thinking about you, when really they don't. I think a lot of people like to relish in other people's pain and drama, and there's a term for that, and it's Germanic, and I think it's like Schadenfreude. I don't know. Y'all can look it up. But a lot of people, they just like to indulge in your pain and your trauma because it makes them feel better about themselves. Or they use it as the tool to understanding subconsciously in the ways they can manipulate, control, and keep you feeling in debt to them. And sometimes that is consciously. Like sometimes you encounter the narcissist. No one's immune to a narcissist. Nobody's immune to a narcissist. And as much as you can heal and pull away from the OG narcissist that enters your life, others will come. But for the majority, I really do believe a lot of people don't want to heal. Thus, once you start healing whatever trauma you've bonded over with certain people, those relationships will ultimately collapse and crumble. And I've just lived that so much, too much for that to not be a truth. Just as much as I've come to really understand, even when you do share a trauma, to build a bridge of relatability or in hopes of deepening another's understanding to you or whatever, it doesn't do that. It doesn't ever do that. When you share your trauma with another because they're confiding in your trauma or they're whatever, it opens that door of, now I feel I have more control over you. Now I feel I can treat you this way, or now I feel like I can disrespect these boundaries you've set with other people because you've shared this info with me. It never goes well. So if I can give any advice throughout this video, your trauma is your privacy. It's your business and your business only, and in keeping it private is not keeping it secret. Okay? Keeping it private from the majority is not keeping it secret. It is protecting your peace. And I truly believe the more you keep private, the greater your peace is. Am I saying keep this from your therapist or your psychiatrist or your life coach? No. Definitely, those are individuals who are licensed to know and hear your trauma and be able to navigate it with you and comfort you and guide you through the healing journey and the journey of transformation. But through my journey of transformation and protecting my peace and my privacy, I really have come to understand I'm an individual that really finds being a recluse, being a hermit, more peaceful than I do going out and socializing once a week, multiple times a week, because that costs me energy. And furthermore, I'm right now doing an autism screening because I really believe I'm autistic. So it's already emotionally draining for me outside of just showing up, because I'm having to mask and navigate social situations that I'm trying to understand. And that's a whole nother layer to this onion of transformation. But I'm a hermit, and ultimately who I share my trauma with is just going to be my therapist and my Reiki healer and my psychiatrist and my mother and my partner. But to an extent, like, my mother needs to be my mother and my partner needs to be my partner. And as much as I can and do confide in friends and family, my friends and family need to just remain friends and family. They need to just remain levels of support that I lean on when I need it the most. And otherwise, they need to be who they are, and we just support one another and encourage one another and lift one another up and love one another. It doesn't need to be continually me saying, hey, this is what I'm going through, hey, this is what I'm going through, hey, this is what I'm going through, because that is emotionally exhausting, and people don't need to carry your pain, the weight of whatever you're going through, because they won't know how to comfort you the way you need to be comforted. And even if you directly tell them, sometimes they don't have the emotional capacity. So outside of my therapist, my life coach, and my psychiatrist, my mother and my partner are probably the people I lean on the most. And outside of them, I keep it very select, if not surface level, with people, because I truly believe no one has the entitlement or right to know your trauma or your business unless you want to share it, or it would further, I guess, solidify a boundary of, hey, I emotionally don't have time to deal with this. Okay? I don't. And I don't owe you an explanation, but if we're gonna go there, I'm having to put all my energy on this certain thing in my life, and I'm keeping it vague. I'm keeping it so vague what that thing is. I will just say I'm dealing with friend stuff. I'm dealing with some deep trauma work. I can't. And that's all you gotta say. You don't owe anybody the details. Anybody. But don't let the deep trauma work or inner healing or spiritual journey you're on feel isolating, because you're not alone. You are so not alone. There are so many people that want to do the deep trauma work, that are on healing journeys, that are doing the soul work. And while they might be far and few in your external world, that's okay. I've also really come to make peace. And I've always arguably kind of, but really now more than ever, that my internal world does not need to reflect on the external world. How I think and feel and behave, not everyone has to mirror, nor will everyone mirror. That's impossible. And I don't want everyone to mirror, because I think the analogy of if everyone was rich, then where would people go? Like, how would we grow? Really applies to if everyone behaved and thought like you, how would you change? How would you grow? How would you know who you are and what you align with? And also, how would you gain an understanding and empathy for others that just supersedes what majority have? So I've really made peace with, I don't want my internal world to reflect everywhere in the external world. That would be terrifying, overwhelming, and ultimately kill the opportunity to change and transform. However, I'm not going to let that realization make me feel isolated or guilt because I think a certain way or believe certain things. I'm just going to let it further cement who I am and my beliefs and how I behave. Like I said, my reaction is all I control at the end of the day. I don't control other people's behavior. And that's what's going to make me kind of elaborate on karmic cycles. For so long, I felt such guilt and shame and like something was wrong with me because I found myself in repeated situations that were negative, or encountering doppelgangers of people I'd cut complete contact with, walked away from, whatever you want to say. And it was annoying me and irking me to a point of like, why do I keep engaging with these doppelgangers, with like these behavior patterns? What am I doing that's inviting the karmic cycles to repeat? And the answer is nothing. Nothing. I am genuinely just being given an opportunity by the universe to react differently. And that doesn't mean I need to go back and open every closed door and be like, hey, sorry I reacted that way. Hey, sorry I cut communication. Hey, sorry we're no longer friends. Hey, sorry I was so extreme in how I confronted. Like, no. No. Once you are given the opportunity to react differently, be proud in how you react. There was a situation in June where I had my autonomy deeply disrespected. And for the first time in my life, I didn't just freeze. I fought back. I didn't exist in the state of fight or flight. Now, did it awaken me being and existing in a state of fight or flight up until this past week? Yeah, heavily. And I'm still kind of working my way out. But for once in my life, I didn't freeze. I fought. And that was something I had to walk away from and be like, I did nothing to invite that disrespect or to have my autonomy completely violated and ignored. But I need to have pride that for once I fought back and I stood up for myself and I reported the incident and I didn't just let myself shut down or excuse it or repress it, because that situation could have been so much worse, and I've experienced worse. I know what worse was, and I didn't have the discernment or the strength to fight, nor do I think every opportunity or situation we find ourselves in that's negative entirely within our control. Like, there are just some traumas I had to endure for so long because I didn't have the resources to walk out. I didn't have the strength or the discernment or the emotional knowledge and about myself to be able to walk out of. Like, no child asks for what they go through. No child deserves to be abused or emotionally neglected or abandoned. No child also has the ability to leave an abusive situation or sometimes even vocalize it. So I can't feel guilt or shame over what I was unable to change in my childhood, and that is just simply the behavior of others. But now that I'm an adult, I have that opportunity, and I'm going to take it. And furthermore, I'm not going to feel guilt or shame. I'm going to step more into my power and asserting my boundaries and using this as an opportunity to let rage lead, to let grief lead and be felt, and be what fuels my reaction, because little me didn't get to, teenage me didn't get to. And for so long I was taught that if I did react and I did stand up for myself, that I would be punished and I would be societally isolated. I would be kicked out of whatever friend group, or emotionally neglected, or made to feel crazy. I would be gaslit and told that my autonomy was nothing, essentially, to another, and said other individual was entitled to however they wanted to disrespect me. And that's not true. That is so not true. So I take a lot of pride in that I'm finally in a place of power where I will say enough is enough. I'm not to be disrespected this way. This is my boundary. I don't like this. I don't believe how you're treating me is respectful. Doppelganger or not, I stand 10 toes down. And I refuse to feel guilt, shame, or neglect for what I have no control over, and that is other people's behaviors. And there is nothing I am doing to invite disrespect or these negative karmic cycles, energetic cycles, to be repeating. They just reoccur because energy is continuously flowing. Life is continually flowing. And they're not tests. They're not me being lured back into old behavior patterns. They are simply just opportunities to react differently and to evaluate my growth, or to take note of where I still need to grow, what lessons I still need to integrate, and where I can change. And ultimately, they are also opportunities. I'm gonna cry. To hug the old versions of yourself that didn't feel to have the tools or the ability to fight back, or didn't see change as a possibility. I am so hugging childhood me and teenage me, and I know today present me makes them so proud. So proud. And while certain versions of myself would have aneurysms and kind of be polarized by who I am today, I know I still make those versions proud. I don't want to cry. So I refuse to feel guilt or shame about what all the healing journey has costed me, and how it is energetically draining, and ultimately you do end up having to sacrifice so much. And by so much, it can be circumstantial, it can be ideological, it can be behavioral. It's all independent on the situation that you find yourself in and what that's mirroring or reflecting about your current being. Because everybody is a mirror to you in some way or form. Even if you feel the most, I do not relate to this person, I do not understand why you act or behave a certain way, They're just mirroring why you behave and act certain ways. That is it. So the cycle of people being reflections never ends. And ultimately, what I am trying to convey is don't let karmic cycles keep you stuck. Don't also think they ever end. Just know they are all reoccurring or happening continuously, so you're further at peace with who you are and strong in your boundaries and your power. And that is not something to feel shame or guilt over in a society that just is riddled with such great entitlement, like such great entitlement, that I find inconceivable at times. It is just insane, but at the same time conceivable, because people are so miserable with themselves and their lives, and they let them their circumstances define them, that they're going to do everything to bring you down. Someone that's vibrating up here can't pull you from a lower vibration up to them. That's why you have to save yourself. That's why you have to do the deep work to meet them up there. But someone down here can easily pull you back down. And that is just the truth of life. So, if you find yourself relating to being Psyche, to going through deep transformation, to be dwelling with karmic cycles and how to navigate them and what healing means, I want to offer some advice in this video through saying karmic cycles never end, and let that bring you peace, because they just more so bring out your power. The healing journey also never ends, because you never know what situation or circumstance is going to trigger something, but what you do have control over is the tools, your reaction, and your resilience. And if you need to go isolate for a week, a month, so be it. If you find yourself finding more peace in being a hermit than a social butterfly, so be it. Every individual is so different. So what is true to you is true to you. It's subjective, and have peace with that. Have peace with truth being subjective and not objective or finite. And by finite, I mean being able to be defined by everyone or another, because it won't be. And how your journey looks is going to be so different than how another's looks, or in some ways so similar. And don't let the knowledge of a lot of people hate, change, wisdom, and healing and truth deter you from feeling like you can relate or be a positive influence to others. Because sometimes you're the Koa to people. Your existence alone is inspirational enough, and it plants the seed. And if someone really wants to water that seed and grow it, they will on their own. And you will do nothing but just be an inspiration and an influence by your existence and your behaviors and the way you speak and the way you carry yourself and the way you just are, your ideologies, so forth. So, alas, I say all this because I really want people to be encouraged to go on healing journeys and not deterred by the pain that transformation brings forth upon, but rather encourage those to view pain as power, in the sense of it makes you choose yourself more and define your peace and your bandwidth and set boundaries. Pain does not give you purpose necessarily in the means of let's make every situation painful, let's find how to bring forth more pain to change me more. No, just pain can bring purpose, and it further drives your purpose to be love and peace. It never is your entire purpose to be in pain. You can be free of suffering. How much you focus on what's painful is what continues suffering. How you focus on what is peaceful is what brings you more peace and love and the capacity to receive. Oh, and I really hope for my fellow autistics out there, you feel less alone, because oh my goodness, has this autistic screening really furthered my understanding of myself and how I perceive the world. And while for so long I felt like being a highly sensitive individual was my fault and negative, it's not. I just perceive things differently, and everyone perceives things differently. And while my perception might be greatly different than the majority, it already was greatly different than the majority because of so many various things. The traumas I've endured, the therapy I've undergone, my degree alone being a Bachelor of Arts degree in World Religion Studies, my perception is great, and I don't view it to be superior than anyone else's. I just can retrospectively or take a step back and understand, because of all that I've gone through, I am a part of a minority, because not a lot of people have the opportunity or will enact on the opportunity to change and undergo the type of transformation I have, or ask the questions I have, because it takes them out of their comfortable, miserable lives. And like, you're not changing, you're choosing. You are choosing 1,000%. And I am choosing peace. And the human mind is the most powerful thing in the world. So keep your mind focused on peace and success, and don't allow negativity to be a possibility or to be anything that you absorb, because what you believe, you become. And once you become who you seek to be, who you want to be, hold humility, because that is what keeps your empathy for others present and your hope forever growing for not only yourself but the world. You gotta keep humility. And that's all I want to say today. I apologize, but at the same time, I find that I could have not conveyed what I needed to if it were not this very moment, and if it had not been for me undergoing such a deeply intensive, transformative period these past 3 months that have made me just appreciate how deeply I have changed in a year, and 5 years, and 10 years, and how so much of my faith in myself and belief and the betterment of the future is greater. I think I will save my tangent for it's okay to have different personas or masks you wear for different situations for another day, because that does build off of transformation. You quickly learn, the more you become spiritually aware or emotionally aware, the more polarizing you are. Thus, it is okay to keep, as I've iterated in this video, a lot of things private, because your privacy is not secrecy. It is just you protecting your peace. And I encourage you all, upon keeping your privacy protected, finding the middle path, being the realist while still being an eternal optimist, and letting that balance with being a cynic or whatever, a nihilist, because two truths can exist at once. You can understand your current circumstance and still believe in a better tomorrow, and that's not letting your circumstances define you. Or you can understand a certain circumstance, whether it be the way of the world, how society for the majority appears to be functioning, and understand in what ways you need to hold boundaries to protect yourself. And I'd argue that's not cynicism, it's realism, and it's just understanding what ways you naturally have survival instincts and what ways you need to grow those survival instincts or release those survival instincts, because no one deserves to exist in fight or flight, and no one is destined to exist in a constant state of suffering. You determine your suffering, and you also determine how much humility and grace you hold for yourself and others. So I'm gonna wrap this video up because I have yapped for 40 minutes about my transformation journey, but I feel like I needed to say everything I needed to say, and I hope it in some way was a message of hope or encouragement and not something that awakened fear or anxiety and whoever is watching this. I love you all so much. Please prioritize yourself, give yourself a hug, do what you gotta do for self-care, and continue to hold hope and faith in a better tomorrow, and view every moment having the potential and possibility to be the greatest moment ever. Every second, every hour. Take everything hour by hour, day by day. Don't let the big picture polarize you nor your past. I love you all so much. I look forward to seeing you in my next video, in my future video, whatever that may be. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. As I always say, je t'aime, bisous, bisous, au revoir, et abonne-toi.